But Erik ten Hag had the chance, technically as we're recording now, still has the chance, to say that was a blip. Prove to us, Erik, that was a blip. Prove to us that was just because of the injury.
Well, he says he will.
Exactly. And all we're getting is false dawns.
And I think another thing that I noticed at full time, and I don't know, obviously, because I'm not in the dressing room, but even his interaction with the players was strange. He was shaking hands with more Spurs players than he was patting the backs of Man United players. He patted the shoulder of Mazraoui. He didn't even flinch. He just looked, fair enough, maybe you're a bit upset because of the game, but he just looked straight through him. He didn't even acknowledge that he touched him. And he was genuinely shaking hands with doing a bit of almost like a bit of PR with the Spurs players. And it was the same thing with the Liverpool game when I was here and I watched it. Even that I find strange. And I really do question how many of those players do back him. How much support does he have? But when, like Crook is talking about what happened in the summer, I've always tried to be really positive. And again, people might say that maybe we are being a little bit hypocrites. Maybe, we're running on emotions right now. But I really did try to back it. I backed that they kept him after the FA Cup final. I backed, Ineos coming in, etc. But when you're looking at it now in hindsight, you do start to think, was that genuinely? You've brought in all these people that are, experienced, intelligent people in this industry. This is, where they succeed. Was that really the best outcome they could think of? To do that, to have or interview all those people, to make themselves almost be in a position now where they do look silly. If they sack him, they look silly because it's like, well, why didn't you employ one of those people you interviewed or work a bit harder at finding the right person? Or they stick with him and it's still like, oh, well, you're just sticking with him because you didn't really know what to do in this moment. I do sit here and think now,
they're damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Yeah, but was that really the best? Was that the best thing that they could come up with?
I'll be totally honest with you, right? It's really, as fans, we're so emotionally invested. Of course, we're broadcasters and it's our job to look at both sides. But I can just be unequivocally real with you guys and you guys watching at home. I feel like the idiot. I'll be dead. Do you know what I mean? I feel like the idiot. And I don't necessarily regret trying to back my manager or regret the euphoria.
That's what we do, though.
Because it's easy, because hindsight is one thing, but you do when you are. It depends how you view the game and how you support the team. Everybody's different. Some people. I was walking out of Wembley, speaking to fans, getting their opinion, and loads of fans said to me, "Don't let that fool you." They said, "Flex, listen, I'm telling you now. We need to do a Van Gaal. Thank you. Can't believe we won today. This is brilliant. We will remember in the history books, but let's move on." Some fans, including myself, said, "No, you can't. He deserves at least a shot." And in my opinion, now, when I see it, he's had a shot.
He has.
He's had a shot. You've had 6 games now. Is it 7 in all comps?
6 in the league, 8 in all comps.
8 in all comps, and we can see where it's going. We know what Porto looks like. We know what Villa looks like. Let's be honest. So that's 10 games. That's going to be a decent sample size.
Yeah.
And depending on how bad the results are, might even be a few games too many. And then you know what? I'll probably be at peace saying, well, I thought he'd be able to turn it around, but he physically showed me he couldn't. But back to what you were saying, Angelina, you're right. Like, it does feel that when people were telling me, this is why I feel like the idiot, lot of people, especially neutral fans, I'm telling you now, Flex, they were looking for a new manager. And I sort of said, well, it kind of is strong leadership. There's so much change at the club. They've changed so much. Keep this as a constant. Let his players get back him in the market, see what he can do. But now I do feel like the idiot.
And you know what? I'm the same. I feel almost like I've had to defend the indefensible at times because we mentioned in this podcast before, people love kicking United when we're down. And, I've got friends and people in the media even who've come for me over my support of Ten Hag and said, mate, he's just not good enough. And actually more damning, I've spoken to several senior high-ranking officials at other Premier League clubs. And I don't think other clubs and other managers think he's good enough. Other managers are not scared of facing Ten Hag.
No. As we can see.
You go back to Liverpool here, and Arne Slot on the pitch afterwards, basically breaking down the tactics and how they got the better of Erik ten Hag. So it's very difficult now to make a case. You're right, to mention it, he will go down in history. He did win that FA Cup, one of the most satisfying FA Cup wins probably in modern times as far as Manchester United are concerned. But ultimately, managers are judged on the league, and maybe that's why he keeps deflecting to the record in the Cups, because the record in the league is atrocious. We're 7 points off the top 4 already. That's a big gap to make up when you're trying to take on teams like Tottenham, who are progressive, teams like Aston Villa, who aren't going away, teams like Newcastle, who've got a really good manager in Eddie Howe. I think the top 4 might be done already. We're not going to get there.
I agree.
I was going to say, I mean, do we? Is the season already written off? Because if you stick with Erik ten Hag the way things are going at the moment, you don't see. Let's say you stuck with him till May. I don't see how things are going to
be another 8th.
If they get rid of him,
Lucky
you've got
to
to
get
think
that.
who do they bring in? And again, that's just you're starting from square one. There's so much pressure. You know, is somebody? People are talking about Ruud van Nistelrooy. Can he seriously get the best out of this team? I don't know. If they bring somebody else in, I just feel like whichever avenue we go down, as sad as this is to say, and people maybe think it is a little bit dramatic, because I do try and think, you know, we're in September, the end of September, you know, there's a long way to go. There's a lot of things that can change. But I do look at every avenue you could go down as to what to do next. I don't see how it can turn around.
No, and the problem that you've
That's
got
what scares me.
is that, and I've had to get into myself for this and remind myself of this. Although it was a mini new start for Ten Hag, like a new structure in place. Let's see how it goes. Get players back. This is his 3rd year.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
This is his 3rd year, and there still should be some basic principles and fundamentals that the team displays. Just because players have been out all last year and up and down with injury, there shouldn't be this lack of cohesion between the team. And actually, when you look away from Erik ten Hag and just look at the players and the traits that they're displaying, yes, some of it is on them in terms of individuals. As soon as you cross that white line as a pro, you've got to put the work in. You've got to show the concentration. You've got to show consistency. But I look at us going in at 1-0 down, right, with 10 men. Don't know how you guys felt, but I said, we'll come out and we'll concede very, very quickly.
And we did.
Because we have no resilience. We have no organisation. It seems as if, and this is we have to go off the evidence we've been shown, we don't have a manager who can inspire, who can galvanise, and where the players go, you know what, let's keep this tight. Let's keep this 1-0. Let's stay in the game. This is Spurs. They give us a few moments. We could probably have a few chances against these. Because I tell you what, when we were huffing and puffing with that fake positivity we were doing, and fair play to all the fans, by the way. When it was 2-0 and the crowd was up and we were singing, we've seen it all, we've won the lot. If that was 1-0 in sort of the 60th minute, if you're Spurs, they're going to get a little bit nervous, get a couple of corners, a couple of free kicks. You're in the game. But what happens? Our manager gets our players in, makes a few changes at half time, and concede straight away. Now, it isn't all his fault, but what I mean by that is that whether it's 11, whether it's adversity, whether it's we've just scored, whether we're knocking on the door to score, but we just feel, it doesn't matter what scenario it is, he can't inspire. And that is a bad place to be as a manager.
Well, talk to me about the changes. Okay, Kobbie Mainoo goes off. Looked like he had an injury, but either way, you've just gone down to 10 men. You're taking off a more defensive midfielder, and you're bringing on Mason Mount, who's clearly an attacking midfielder. Then you get through to a half-time, you take off your striker, and you bring on a defensive midfielder. So why not bring on the defensive midfielder right away? It's a waste of a substitution.
100%.
Clouded thinking from Ten Hag. And you mentioned Ruud van Nistelrooy. This was the other thing that I clocked today. I think Ruud has been quite visible in the technical area to this point. I didn't see him today. I assume he was here. Is that someone trying to remove himself?
Dissociate himself.
I don't know you, Eric. I don't know you no more.
I know he's on borrowed time.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite telling.
I agree with the subs though, because I think the only thing I'll say is like with Mount, when it comes to the pressing, we know that that's something that he's better at.
Yeah, and he did run around.
And that was an area that Man United lacked. So I sort of got that, but I agree with the whole the Casemiro thing. It didn't make sense the way that he did that. I didn't agree with that. I was quite baffled by it as well.